Hey Tubies, it's Psychic Bob. Well, I know I'm getting this video out late. It's Saturday night. You guys have been, I'm sure, waiting for the seance. Just want to come here and tell you, I have not been well today. I have been recovering from some horrific injuries. I'm not going to go into the details, but I was severely attacked last night by directed energy weapons. I've had damage to one of my ears, and I've had some internal organ damage, and my ribs are bruised, and my hands have had some nerve damage. I was exposed to high-level radiation and sonic weapons. I'll talk more about that in future videos. We're going to be having some people on my channel I'm going to be interviewing who are also targeted individuals. I think it would be helpful for you guys to understand the phenomenon just outside just my experience, to understand that this is happening all over the country. So I've been literally recovering all day. I did some readings and I had to quit halfway through the day. I have not been well. But I want to let you guys know I haven't forgotten you, and I apologize for not being with you tonight. But I did feel, I have been, as I said, sleeping a lot today and recovering. And I thought, even though I'm not physically strong enough to do a full seance tonight, I wanted to come and just talk to you about some points here from the Spiritualist hymnal. I've got a Spiritualist manual that'll be coming, but we'll go into more details on Spiritualism. But a number of you have written and asked me, said, Bob, would you teach us a little bit more about the Spiritualist religion? And I'd love to do that. And this is part of the official statements of Spiritualism. There's the Declaration of Principles, which I've talked about before, and then this is some definitions. And last week we went through the first three definitions, and I wanted to go back because I think the first definition has so much in it that's worth hearing about. I want to read this to you, okay? And this is from the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. And point number 1 says, Spiritualism is a science, philosophy, and religion of continuous life based upon the demonstrated fact of communication by means of mediumship with those who live in the spirit world. Now, there's a lot of information in this and a lot of deep thought, because it says, pardon me guys, I had some throat damage last night. My throat was burned, so I'm having trouble talking. So bear with me. Spiritualism is the science, philosophy, and religion of continuous life. Well, this is interesting because people say, a lot of scientific people decry spiritualism as unscientific or a bunch of superstition. But really, if you study the history of spiritualism, many of the facts of spiritualism can be tested scientifically. Back in the 1800s, when spiritualism was really big, and in the early 1900s, some of the top leading scientists of the time actually attended seances and conducted experiments on mediums. Scientists were able to discover that ectoplasm, which is the substance that comes out of a medium during a seance, is real. They've actually captured it, photographed it, filmed it, and studied it. They've also discovered other things, such as that they were able to use scientific methods to confirm such phenomena as independent voice phenomena. And I've actually had independent voice phenomena in my own seances. And this is where a medium goes into a trance and voices will materialize in different parts of the room. I've actually had witnesses, and they can actually, use instruments to determine that the voices are not coming from the medium, that they're independent of the medium. And there's a lot of science, and you don't hear about it much anymore. Part of it is because we don't see many physical phenomena mediums anymore. But there is a scientific element. So I would encourage you, look into the early days of spiritualism, particularly physical phenomena, and you'll discover that many scientists did attend seances and were able to scientifically validate the phenomena. So it is a science. Spiritualism has a scientific element. Spiritualism is also a philosophy. Philosophy is a way of understanding the world, a way of life. Spiritualists believe, as part of their religion, that there are two worlds, this world and the spirit world. And they live their life assuming that we're really connected. And this is because of this, spiritualists have a comfort with the idea of death. They're not afraid because their philosophy says, well, if life is continuous, and the scientific side of spiritualism proves that life is continuous, then we don't need to live our lives in fear. And so the philosophy is one of live and let live. Many spiritualists are very much advocates against the death penalty. Historically, spiritualism has always been against the death penalty because from their experience in communications with the dead, many spirits have come back and said that when people are executed, it stops their ability to repent of their crimes. It stops their ability to make progress. And so there's a belief that interrupting a life, through, like, for example, state execution, hurts the soul. Now, I know people are going to get out there and say, Bob, those people are murderers. What about the people they killed? Absolutely true. I'm not giving sympathy to murderers. But what I'm saying is that nobody at any level has the right to kill anybody. So it doesn't make it right that we kill a killer because he killed somebody. It's like two wrongs don't make a right. Is that the word I was saying? So many spiritualists have, as part of their philosophy of spiritualism, a kind of a live and let live and have trust in the spirit world. Spiritualism is also a religion. And the reason why it's a religion is that it has a belief in a higher power, and the declaration of principles are the outline of the creed of the faith. Many spiritualists in the early days banded together and formed circles, what they call home circles, where they'd study the phenomena and the philosophy of spiritualism. And eventually that grew into forming churches where people could gather on a larger scale, and it took on a kind of a religious, well, not kind of, it took on a religious format with, church services or ordination of ministers. In the early days of spiritualism in many places was persecuted by traditional religion, like a lot of the Catholic Church was against the Spiritualists, a lot of the Protestants, and the Spiritualists had to kind of band together for their own protection. And the Spiritualists stood and said, no, we're not weird, we're not crazy, we won't be harassed. We have a valid religious viewpoint. And so the Spiritualist churches are formed. And the one I used to belong to was the National Spiritualist Association of Churches. And so that's where, one of the early churches were. Now, there are different churches. For those of you in the United Kingdom, there is the SNU, the Spiritualist Nationalist Union, Spiritualist National Union. Not nationalist. It's not fascist, the nationalist, It's the SNU, the Spiritualist National Union. You might want to check that out for my UK viewers. They have a lot of churches all across the UK. And when I go to the UK or come to visit you guys, I'm hoping to get some appearances at some SNU churches. So we'll talk more about that. But you see, so in the first point of spiritualism, let me read that again. Spiritualism is the science, philosophy, and religion of continuous life based upon the demonstrated fact of communication by means of mediumship with those who live in the spirit world. So you see, the science, meaning spiritualism, can be studied objectively as a scientific phenomena. It has a philosophy, a way of life, a way of understanding life and our place in the world. And it's a religion, it's an organized structure for the propagation of the truths of the beliefs and the protection of the faithful and the ordination of ministers. So I encourage you guys, do some research on the NSAC, National Spiritualist Association. I have a Spiritualist manual. I'm trying to locate it, and if I can't find it, I'm going to buy another one. But I wanted to do some readings. But this is the hymnal. The rest of this book is all songs, which we'll do some of the songs another time. But I did want to talk in, just touch in on this point. I think that we're going to, go through each of these points in future videos and talk in detail about them, because a lot of you have requested that. Don't worry, we will still have the Saturday night seance. Well, next week we'll be back to our normal schedule. Psyche Bob is, as I said, recovering, and I want to ask for your prayers because I've been through a horrific situation. I won't get graphic. It's pretty horrible. And for those of you who say, oh, he's imagining it, these TI people are crazy. I don't care. I'm not here to prove it to you. Those of you who know me know that I'm telling the truth. And I will give further evidence of the TI phenomena. Just a point in the news that I would like you guys to do some research. You may, personally I hate watching the news, but I think this is worth looking up. They've recently come out that there have been FISA court abuses. FISA is a secret intelligence court that is now set up in America. They hold trials in secret. And even the people convicted are oftentimes even exempt from attending their own trials. Some of the American senators have discovered what is really going on in these FISA courts. And the truth is coming out now. And one of the senators, I don't have him in front of me today, but I'll find it for you. But he basically said, are we talking about the NSA in the United States, or are we talking about the KGB? KGB used to be the Soviet secret police. And I can tell you as a target individual that America is going the route of the KGB. And this is, I was actually convicted in a FISA court. I've never been told what. I was just simply, when I was taken in by the feds back in 2013, I was told that I was on a death list to be executed. And I have certainly been close to that many times. So it's all coming out that the FISA courts are making egregious breaches of human rights. And I'll talk more about that. We'll have some people on to discuss that in the future. But enough of that for now. Psychic Bob, just want to let you know, I want you to know I'm alive. I'm healing. Be here tomorrow. We're going to have the witching hour at 8 p.m. I don't want you to miss that. But I wanted to talk about spiritualism. And it's hard to see. It's not have good lighting today. But this is the Spiritualist hymnal. And today's talk was taken from the Definitions of Spiritualism. Every spiritualist church has these books in it. In the front, it has the Declaration of Principles and the definitions. So, anyways, guys, thanks for understanding. I'm just, not well tonight. And just some advice for you developing mediums. There's always a temptation for those of us who love the spirit world to serve regardless of no matter what. And I almost thought of doing the seance today, but I'm so weak. One of the things that the spirit world has revealed through many sittings and seances, not just with me, but throughout the history of spiritualism, is that when a medium's energy is damaged, they should not sit for mediumship, because the energy that would be used to heal from them gets taken in manifestation, and it can actually weaken a medium. So that's why I'm not sitting tonight. I'm doing it to honor my body. And guys, as I've told you, I'm here for the long haul. So I'd rather take a short-term sit-out so I can be with you long-term, okay? Thank you for understanding. Thanks for being here. I love you guys. Sending you blessings. I'm getting some rest. And be back here tomorrow and Sunday. We will have the witching hour at 8 p.m. Oh, by the way, just in regards to the witching hour, if we're a few minutes late starting, bear with me. I have some readings earlier, and if I run a little over, we might not start till a few minutes after 8. But just keep your computers on, okay? I'll be here. I love you guys. Blessed be.